Hey everyone, welcome again to my channel. Today I'm taking you with me to an event at a local bookstore, being the After School Book Party 2.0. Long title, I know. But before we go there, if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome to Quillscene. My name is Megan. If you like things that have to do with reading, with writing, with my adventures as a writer, with magic, with geeky things, then you're in the right place. Make sure to click on the magical subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell, because on that way you'll always get a notification whenever I upload something new. But yeah, time to get our books and go to the after school book party. So let's situate this event for a moment. Here in Belgium we have like a big bookstore chain called Standaard Boekhandel. They are kind of like the monopoly when it comes to bookstores, because every like city, small, big, has one, at least one. Some, because in Leuven, which is like one of the bigger cities close to us, they have like two, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, but every year during autumn break they host Feest van het Boek, or Party of the Book. And that's actually kind of like their open day, so an entire week, well actually 9 days. That runs from like the end of October till the beginning of November. As I said, this during autumn break. You will see in the coming vlogs, because I had like, I think 2 other events that were also in the vibe of Party of the Book. So yeah, then the every location is free to host events that they want to host. Each of them also gets like a budget to then, you know, decorate and yeah, organize said event. And the local store in Tienen, which is like the city right next to us, right next to the village where I live, hosted an after school book party 2.0, because it was a second edition, because the previous year they had already done the first edition. And that was actually the main focus was young adult, and then mostly the ones on Book Talk. Of course, the ones on Book Talk are mostly English young adult fantasy books. So they had asked me if I knew some other local authors, and of course I pushed Matthias Maho and Jana Bollos, who also wrote fantasy, young adult, to be a bit of like the counterweight in the store, to show the people that came that we also have like young adult fantasy books from, you know, our own turf, that are originally in Dutch, and that they don't, you know, always have to go through English. That original Dutch stories is also an option. So as I said, again, I'm going to take my little paper. It was hosted on Friday, the 27th of October, which was like the, so it was the last school day before autumn break started. And it was kind of like a nocturne, because usually the store closes at 6. But the event itself went from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. And as I said, Matthias and Jana were there with me, so we had like a table with 3 fantasy authors from Tienen, well, or around Tienen. And then there was also a woman who had a store in Tienen, who had like kind of like a craft store, with a geeky touch, because you had like all sorts of craft things from Harry Potter, from The Nightmare Before Christmas, stuff like that. So they had added her there too, with a table where she could present some of her products. And yeah, it was actually kind of cozy. And the moment that, because they had to close down the store from I think 4:30 p.m. To set everything up without customers in the store. So they had like closed it off with like the how do you call it, the thing that goes up and down, the shutters, I think it's called. So they had closed that up, and then at 5 p.m. The shutters went up again, and there was like kind of like a crowd. So yeah, we were very curious to see what was going to happen. I said, quite some visitors, sadly, but somehow where we had already expected it. Because the main focus was young adult, and then mostly the young adult fantasy that was shown on TikTok or BookTok. Yeah, the English titles were most popular. I kid you not when I say that at one point I saw a girl walking past by us who had like the entire Throne of Glass series in her hands, and her boyfriend was walking behind her, and he had like the box set of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and she wasn't done shopping yet. Yeah, the English books, because they had like, here was our table, and then there was like a standard display that was in the store, and then there was another table, and on that table they had presented like books from BookTok, English BookTok books, and when before the event started, the table was full of books, and by the end of the day, yeah, the towers of books were like 1 or 2 pieces of every book left or something like that. So those were very popular. We tried our best to promote our Dutch books. Here and there we sold one, but of course not as many as the English books. But still, it was a fun event. And slowly but surely we will fight for the Dutch fantasy young adult books and, well, Dutch books in general. Because sadly, that's something I have learned as, you know, being out and about as a writer in the wild, is that a lot of people come to us, they see, ooh, books, and then they see, oh, it's in Dutch. Sorry, I only read English. And the reason why people say that, while their mother tongue is Dutch, is because of the translated books. Not to say that all translations are bad, surely there are good ones among them. But the thing is, what happens is when you have a popular English book, the rights get sold to an agency. That agency looks for a translator in a certain language, being French, being Polish, being whatever, in our case Dutch, and then that translator is responsible to get the book translated to said language. Sadly, not every Dutch translation of an English book is of a high quality. What also often is the case is that because of course when you speak about Dutch, you have like the Belgian Dutch being Flemish, and you have the Dutch from the Netherlands, which is technically the same language, but also not the same language. You can kind of like compare it with American English versus British English. So there are a lot of common things, but there are also a lot of non-common things. So what you get is sometimes people, an agency hires a translator who is from the Netherlands, who makes a Dutch translation, causing that it sometimes reads weird for Belgians who speak Flemish Dutch. The other way around can also be possible. Sometimes it's also because, as I said, it usually happens when you have like a very hyped up, very popular English book that the translations get, you know, have to follow quickly. And because there is like a very harsh deadline, not all translators, of course, have the appropriate amount of time to make a decent translation. Again, not to say that all translations are bad. I'm not saying that. There are good ones there too. But sadly, sometimes, and usually it happens with the popular books, the translations aren't that good quality. And that is then the problem of the original Dutch author, because readers who read those translations automatically think, reading Dutch isn't fun, because the things I read, even though that are translations, the things I already read in Dutch aren't good in my opinion. I like to read English better because that is smooth, that goes, it just feels more me, for example. And I have to admit, as a reader, I had a period of time when I shared that opinion. But the thing is, a translation English to Dutch is way different than an original Dutch story. So we as Dutch writers try to, you know, promote that, to give original Dutch stories also a chance, to not always place them in the same corner as the translations to Dutch. And slowly but surely we are getting there. I noticed, like, for example, on bigger events like Feest or Elftopia, people come to us and ask, is it original Dutch? Because I only read original English stories or original Dutch stories. So it's slowly getting there, but there is still a long way to go, as was seen during the Author School Book Party 2.0. But we're getting there and we're not giving up the fight. That was it already for this video. If you liked it, please leave a little thumbs up or a comment down below. I love your feedback, and both help my channel grow, so don't forget to do that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I see you guys soon for another bookish, magical, probably on the go video. Bye!